At a prestigious high school specializing in literature, a new 10th grader arrived, instantly capturing everyone's attention. He wore the role of duty monitor with effortless grace, ate with style, and even looked cool while facing punishment. This enigmatic figure was named Sakamoto. One ordinary day, 3 boys from the class plotted a prank, placing the eraser on the door just to mess with Sakamoto. The girls pleaded for them to stop, but the boys boldly dared the girls to take over if they wanted. But the moment Sakamoto opened the door, he caught the eraser with such cool confidence that the girls could only scream in awe. During break time, the 3 boys followed him to the restroom and dumped a bucket of water, expecting to drench him. What they didn't expect was that Sakamoto had an umbrella ready to shield him. Then, wielding that umbrella like a silent warning, he stepped out to confront them, returning to class. He found his desk had been thrown out the window. The teacher noticed Sakamoto had no desk, and some girls offered to share theirs. But Sakamoto didn't need a desk, he simply took a seat by the window. Furious, the 3 boys lit cigarettes and vowed to settle things seriously once and for all. They forced a classmate to call Sakamoto up to the chemistry lab, trusting them. Sakamoto went up, only to be pinned down by the trio as soon as he entered. Their plan: destroy Sakamoto's flawless image by snapping embarrassing photos. But suddenly, the sharp scent of smoke filled the air. Checking around, they realized the cigarette's ember had sparked a fire. Panic set in as they scrambled to extinguish the flames, rushing to open the door only to find it blocked by a broom outside. It was time for Sakamoto to step in. He rose, took off his jacket, and began leaping around the fire. The others thought he was creating wind to snuff out the flames, so they joined in the bizarre dance. The noise caught the attention of a teacher downstairs, who came up to investigate. The teacher found the 4 boys hopping around the fire with a fire extinguisher. He put out the blaze and asked what happened. Sakamoto claimed it was a personal matter, the fire was accidental, and their noisy dance was to alert the staff. To cover for the 3 boys, Sakamoto said he was there tutoring them when the accident occurred. The teacher accepted this explanation, but still made Sakamoto write a reflection report. The 3 boys thought they'd taught Sakamoto a lesson, but in truth, they were the ones schooled later while playing basketball. They admitted total defeat to Sakamoto. Honestly, Sakamoto was nothing short of legendary that day. One rainy afternoon, as he was heading home, he encountered a bird. They playfully raced each other, but a sudden whirlwind swept the bird away. Without hesitation, Sakamoto chased after it, gliding across the water's surface in a desperate rescue. Using the swirling wind in his umbrella, he soared up and caught the bird just as the sun broke through the clouds. Back in class, Sakamoto had a classmate named Seija. Seija, a model for a fashion brand, was casually flirting with the girls, but no one paid him any mind. Then, someone passed around a newspaper featuring a photo of Sakamoto soaring through a stormy sky. Suddenly, everyone crowded around to ask about Sakamoto. Feeling overshadowed, Seija vowed to challenge him. During class, when the teacher asked a question, Sakamoto stood to answer, trying to trip him. Seija pulled out his chair, but Sakamoto, unbothered, simply sat down on the windowsill without the chair. During gym class dodgeball, Sakamoto effortlessly dodged every throw from Seija. Frustrated, Seija went to splash water on his face, only to be drenched by a broken faucet that was in desperate need of repair. Seija, boiling with spite, tore down the notice board to trap Sakamoto, but instead of embarrassment, Sakamoto just played it cool, shining even brighter. Seija was left fuming, clueless on how to dim Sakamoto's spotlights. Suddenly, a bee buzzed into the classroom, sending everyone into a chaotic spin of panic. Then they realized it was the queen bee. The girls scattered, locking the boys inside, leaving the boys trapped in a buzzing storm. The teacher told them to ditch their uniforms. Black attracts bees. Scrambling, everyone peeled off clothes, and Seija saw his chance to shine by battling the queen bee himself. But he missed, ending up laughing nervously while dodging. The queen bee then fixated on Sakamoto, perching calmly on his hair. Sakamoto readied to strike, but as he moved away, the bee targeted Seija again. When Seija screamed, Sakamoto caught the bee effortlessly, holding the queen bee like a trophy. Sakamoto seized the moment, pinching it gently before opening the door to set it free. The class circled him in awe, while Sakamoto used the chaos to finally finish the teacher's assignment. Victory secured, Sakamoto stood undefeated. Seija, humbled, performed a clownish act before the class and later begged to join Sakamoto's group, only to be flatly declined. Days later, Sakamoto visited the birdhouse, finding it empty. He noticed his classmate, Kubo, was often bullied and extorted by local toughs. Sakamoto approached to check in, but only out of curiosity, not to rescue. Cornered and penniless, Kubo bowed, begging Sakamoto for help. Sakamoto's advice: "If you're broke, get a job, earn your own way." The manager immediately liked Sakamoto and hired him as a receptionist, while Kubo was sent to the kitchen. Kubo resented having to work because of bullies. Workload surged as customers flocked, all drawn by Sakamoto's charm. Kubo worked non-stop, the place buzzing with energy, a true Sakamoto effect during rush hour. The rush subsided, and the manager praised Kubo. Slowly, Kubo found joy and pride in his work. After earning his first paycheck, Kubo and Sakamoto worked as usual until 3 unruly boys from class showed up. Sakamoto had already tamed them into well-behaved guys, but the 2 bullies who targeted Kubo also came sniffing around. Spotting Kubo, they wondered where he'd been lately. Turns out, working? Sakamoto ordered their meals and arranged to meet with Kubo at the park after work. If Kubo didn't come, they threatened to rough him up. They nervously showed up, complaining they had no cash and demanded money from Kubo. Kubo pulled out his paycheck but hesitated, deciding to keep it the fruit of his labor. The bullies started beating him, but Sakamoto arrived just in time, handing them back forgotten items as he blew a straw into one bully's ear and sprayed sauce into another's eyes. Kubo charged in, shoving them and flinging sand, forcing them to flee. Kubo finally understood what he must protect his honor, but Sakamoto had to work overtime and left early, missing the moment. In class, Sakamoto had a girl named Aina. Aina was the center of attention, easily catching boys' hearts. Naturally, the other girls despised her clingy personality. Yet, Aina only cared about Sakamoto and schemed to make him fall for her. She began her subtle invasion of his personal space, or Aina asked to sit beside Sakamoto to get help with lessons, positioning herself where their hands could accidentally touch. But Sakamoto wrote with both hands simultaneously, so she sat opposite him and started her next move calling his name. But no one knew Sakamoto's real name, and when she asked, he refused to reveal it. She tried mimicking his actions, but he worked too fast to follow. Then she used the 4th step, leaving to make him call her back, but he was distracted by a dog in the schoolyard. She retreated to the restroom to study a guidebook, then returned inviting Sakamoto to play a spirit summoning game. 2 girls sidled up to Aina, eager to join and sabotage. With others involved, Sakamoto let them play while he watched. Then he asked the mountain spirit if Aina was fake, but Aina pulled the coin back herself. Neither girl could match Aina's strength. They asked who Sakamoto liked, moving the coin until it flew off. They knew a flying coin meant a curse. Sakamoto pretended to be possessed and ordered them to build a birdhouse within 20 minutes, or he'd be taken back to the mountain. Terrified, they used desks to build a birdhouse shape. Aina whined, refusing to help. The other 2 saw through her fake affection. They pushed the desks down, forcing Aina to hold them up. She insisted she was doing it for Sakamoto. Eventually, they completed the birdhouse shape. Sakamoto jumped through the desks, breaking the curse. The 3 girls, now bonded, decided to hang out together. Sakamoto staged this test to see if hardship would forge true bonds. Once done, he restored the desks to their places. Later, we meet the 2nd-year class boss. He forced a red-hatted youth to buy snacks, threatening punishment if he displeased him. A blonde tried pleading for mercy, but the boss insisted on disciplining the toughest guys to make them obedient and observant. He bragged about finding a cute girl in the hallway to his crew. As the door opened, Sakamoto rushed in with a pile of pastries. He dropped a stone onto a broom, causing it to jump up. He climbed up and presented a plate of assorted sweets. Everyone grabbed a piece, praising the delicious treats. Kubo thought Sakamoto was being bossed around, but Sakamoto saw it as a lesson in patience and awareness. Kubo felt deceived and saw the bullied as uncomfortable, but Sakamoto believed respecting elders was proper conduct. At the whistle, Sakamoto turned and left. The boss wanted a drink and told Sakamoto to buy it, letting him choose the flavour. So he went out, bought a drink, shook it up, and brought it back. The boss took a sip and praised it as delicious. From then on, everyone begged Sakamoto to make it for the boss. Riding the momentum, Sakamoto was constantly ordered around. When the boss forgot his gym clothes, Sakamoto measured and even sewed a new outfit and shoes for him. He cleaned the floors spotless. Whenever Mage substituted for Sakamoto in class, he did everything without complaint. The boss lived comfortably but grew lazy. Yet when questioned, he justified it as teaching Sakamoto the value of growth through responsibility. Eventually, the boss realized that always giving orders wouldn't help Sakamoto mature, so he gave Sakamoto one final wish to act by his own will, as long as it made the boss's life easier. One time, when the bathroom ran out of toilet paper, Sakamoto immediately brought some to the boss. Later, when fetching shoes from the locker, Sakamoto suddenly took the shoes to warm them up, but the outside heat was too much, and the boss screamed. Sakamoto then grabbed the boss's shoes and wheeled him home in a cart. Terrified, the boss fled. This was what it felt like to be relentlessly stalked. He finally shook off Sakamoto and hid in a storage room. He barred the door and called his underlings for help, but Sakamoto didn't give up. He slipped in unnoticed. He rearranged the storage room into a bed for the boss to rest. He even tried to sing for him. The boss couldn't take it anymore and begged for mercy. The next day, some clueless guys spotted the boss buying and paying for food at the cafeteria himself. Meanwhile, Sakamoto got kicked out, convinced it was because of his terrible singing. Sometime later, Sakamoto came to Kubo's house to tutor him. When Kubo's mum heard Sakamoto's voice, Kubo warned him to hide immediately. Kubo's mum thought Sakamoto was there, but he insisted he was alone. Kubo urged Sakamoto to hide because his mum had been through so much already. Sakamoto had been tutoring for 2 weeks. His scores were sky high, while Kubo struggled to keep up. So he begged Sakamoto for help. So they studied together at Kubo's house. Sakamoto gifted Kubo's mum a shell collection, leaving her utterly charmed. She even filmed Sakamoto teaching and invited him to stay for dinner. Dinner was grilled chicken, and she bought red clay beauty products. Kubo begged Sakamoto to escape from his mum's hospitality. Just as Sakamoto was about to continue tutoring, Kubo realized he'd left something at school. He rushed off to get it and asked Sakamoto to hide well. When Kubo left, his mum found someone's shoes in the closet and suspected Sakamoto was hiding there. She searched his room thoroughly, from bed to floor. But Sakamoto was already on the doorframe, sneaking into the next room. When she chased after him, he hid behind a door and tossed something to make her open it. A light shone in her eyes. She then looked for Sakamoto in the closet, where he lay perched on top. He hid in the washing machine in the living room, but she remembered the bathroom and ran there. She opened the bathtub, and Sakamoto was hiding deep inside. Suddenly, Kubo called, distracting her. She turned around to search again, but Sakamoto splashed water, ruining her powder, and she ran off. She then followed Sakamoto's footprints to the balcony, where she found he'd tied a rope to escape. He was still nearby, listening to her heartfelt worries. Later, she watched a movie and saw a character who reminded her of Sakamoto. She could easily let go of the character on screen, but the distance between her and Sakamoto stirred emotion she couldn't suppress. Sakamoto caught wind of it, while Kubo decided to head home early before his mother did something crazy. Kubo's mum, having finished watching the movie, set out to prepare dinner. Suddenly, Sakamoto appeared. She rushed at him, but he threw the DVD case at her head, then slipped behind the TV just in time to sync perfectly with his appearance in the film clip. Sakamoto tricked her into believing he was part of the movie and untouchable. When Kubo got home, he found his mother crying over a heartbreaking, unreal romance. But the next day, the two just studied quietly in the library, keeping everything from Kubo's mum. In the following days, the teacher guarded the door in the final seconds, trying to catch Sakamoto slipping up. But today, Sakamoto showed up carrying a pole. The teacher thought he was going to vault over the door and ran to stop him. But Sakamoto just stuck the pole through the still open doorway and walked right in. The teacher heard from a colleague that rule-breaking had been rising lately, so he tightened his watch. Sure, Sakamoto would trip up eventually. He soon spotted Sakamoto hanging out with 3 mischievous guys. Seeing smoke rising, the teacher suspected they were smoking and rushed over to catch them. But they were simply blowing bubbles since the 3 had quit smoking. The teacher sighed and resumed his patrol. The teacher noticed students diligently cleaning and saw Sakamoto seeming to play around. But a girl urged him to look closer. Sakamoto was sweeping the ceiling, carefully dodging dust so it wouldn't fall on anyone. Later, the teacher had class with Sakamoto and went to teach. He was giving a health and sex education lesson. Midway, he sensed an unusual silence from the class. Glancing at Sakamoto, he saw him still serious and focused. The teacher waited for a chance to catch him, but when he looked back, Sakamoto was setting up his meal. The teacher knew the subject was trivial, but if Sakamoto ate even one bite, he could call him out. So he waited patiently until Sakamoto took a bite, then promptly kicked him out. Feeling victorious, the teacher thought Sakamoto might repent outside, only to find him feeding a bird. It dawned on him Sakamoto was deliberately provoking him, sharing food with a dying creature. The teacher realized he was truly outmatched by Sakamoto. The next day, he left the door open for him, but Sakamoto slipped under him, leaving the teacher fuming. A few days later, they held an emergency drill. Everyone noticed the red-hooded youth was missing and suspected he was hiding in the bathroom. Sakamoto went in to check, dousing himself with water and pinching his nose and mouth. When the red-hooded guy came out, the class had gathered outside, clueless about what was going on. Sam C showed up, urging the guy to follow Sakamoto's lead, then helped him descend from a higher floor. Sakamoto jumped down and deployed his parachute for a smooth landing. The teacher thought he was overdoing it, but understood the need to heighten the tension for an authentic drill. Summer arrived. The trio of sleepy-headed pranksters set traps, and Sakamoto sought them out, somehow. He wore his uniform during vacation, stepped on a trap, then vanished, leaving no trace. 3 days passed with no sign of him, so the trio asked Kubo, who had no clue and guessed Sakamoto might have finished his homework and gone somewhere. Hey, somewhere! The trio didn't believe he could disappear like that and started asking around, since Sakamoto was the only one wearing a uniform in summer. Someone spotted Sakamoto climbing stairs, striding as if it were an elevator. This was 4 days ago. At a supermarket, a lady saw him wandering the aisles, sampling food. This was 5 days ago. Further searchers saw him throwing stones to catch fish, fixing kids' mistakes, and kindly letting a cat pass. The red-hooded youth searched too, but crashed his bike. An old lady recalled seeing Sakamoto playing a guitar nearby. They refused to accept that Sakamoto had vanished, thinking maybe he'd left town. Eventually, the trio found him fallen into a hole they themselves had dug. Inspecting the pit, they spotted Sakamoto's shirt button nearby. They dropped the button into the abyss and realized the hole was so deep no sound came back. They joked that he might have dug through to the other side of the earth. The red-hooded guy wanted to jump in too, he just couldn't bear being apart from Sakamoto. In truth, Sakamoto had been at the laundromat, picking up his uniform sent for cleaning 3 days ago. He'd been wandering town investigating things quietly. After grabbing his clothes and heading home, he ran into the trio. The hole was actually shallow. He'd only been trying to tap into a hot spring. The guy in the pit was frustrated but helpless. Sakamoto then took part in gym class, threw a ball, and Kubo doubted it would come his way. But the ball hit Kubo right in the face. When he came to, Sakamoto was there to catch him. Sakamoto tore part of his shirt to bandage Kubo's face. The girls nearby just screamed in awe. Later, they met 2 gang leaders called the 52. This time, all eyes were on the cool Hayabusa, known for his brains, fighting skills, and manliness. He was the real deal. Suddenly, a line of girls formed, waiting for someone. That someone was Sakamoto. The gang leaders got cold feet seeing him, remembering how he'd tailed them before. Everyone admitted Sakamoto was downright dangerous. If there was one word to describe him, it was simply dangerous. The boss warned Hayabusa not to mess with Sakamoto, otherwise he'd regret it. But Hayabusa wanted to prove he was the true authority. Meanwhile, Kubo wondered if he should try that new haircut. Sakamoto suggested a bonsai-style trim he'd seen, but Kubo, with experience, offered a different approach. Suddenly, Hayabusa stepped forward, demanding respect from Sakamoto. Sakamoto misunderstood and pulled out clay. He pressed Hayabusa's face into it, saying he'd let him borrow it for art class tomorrow. But Hayabusa didn't want it. That sparked a rush of girls scrambling to grab the clay. Hayabusa dodged them all and punched the clay flying. Then he stomped on it, claiming it was his battle flag. Proclaiming his dominance over the class, he challenged Sakamoto to meet at the end of the day, but Sakamoto was on duty today. Hayabusa's underlings schemed to pressure Sakamoto, even confiscating his shoes while he was in the bathroom. They left a note, but Sakamoto ignored it and swaggered back to class. Later, his classmates called on him because someone had hidden Sakamoto's ruler, and all that was left was a message. So he used the teacher's head as a target to challenge the 2 underlings. Feeling a bit salty, he decided to make it bigger. An unlucky Kubo just happened to walk by. When Sakamoto went on duty and looked for Kubo, he found that Kubo's hair had been mercilessly messed with. On top of that, there was a note forcing Sakamoto to make a wig for Kubo. Determined, he set out to settle this matter. He met Hayabusa by the riverbank. Both were ready for battle. As Hayabusa charged, the police stepped in to stop them because fighting was forbidden. But Sakamoto insisted they were just playing. The 2 underlings chimed in, convincing the cop it was just their usual roughhousing. So, the cop decided to watch their skills. Hayabusa planned to go easy and then switch places. But Sakamoto looked serious. When Hayabusa attacked, Sakamoto retracted his hand, nearly causing Hayabusa to fall. But he caught his shirt just in time. Everyone thought Sakamoto was cheating, yet the cop revealed this was a recognized technique. Hayabusa then positioned himself to maintain balance while unleashing full power. He almost knocked Sakamoto down, but Sakamoto spun his arm fast enough to create a gust that steadied himself. They exchanged blows fiercely as rain began to fall. The cop watched this intense duel unfold. Like fire and water, Hayabusa started to tire. The underlings tried to foul by grabbing Sakamoto's leg, but Hayabusa stopped them. He wanted a pure win. He'd rather die standing than win by dirty tricks. But Sakamoto was determined to end it quickly. He raised his hand to the sky, and everyone thought he was calling down lightning to take out the underlings and force Hayabusa out. But Hayabusa risked it all, and charged Sakamoto just stood ready to defend. With no way to stop Sakamoto, the underlings confessed they were the ones who provoked this fight. As Hayabusa let his guard down, Sakamoto pushed him into a taxi. Sakamoto realized Hayabusa wasn't his true opponent. The raised hand was a signal to call a cab. He wanted to make sure Hayabusa didn't catch a cold. Knowing he lost, Hayabusa, the underlings, and Sakamoto all climbed into the taxi. The cop, seeing his favorite pastime fading, felt at least the city would remain peaceful. On the way back, The two underlings apologized to Sakamoto, who only asked them to buy dinner to make amends. Later, Kubo's mother called him over someone had come to see him. The three guys bowed deeply to Kubo, bringing seaweed to help his hair grow back fast. But Kubo felt he wouldn't finish it all, so he invited them to stay and eat together. All three helped Kubo's mother cook, and Sakamoto stopped by to check without being noticed. On health report day, the school nurse noticed Sakamoto looked unwell and took his temperature. She found he had a fever and wanted him to rest in the infirmary, but he just left. He went to the cafeteria, grabbed some scallions to wrap around his neck, and thought he could fight off the illness. He realized he needed to be more careful with his health. One day, as elementary students left school, 3 boys decided to have a kick contest with a stray ball, back home. The rule was simple. Whoever kicked the stone into the water lost. The kids dashed around, warning others to clear the path. But all 3 soon noticed that Sakamoto was playing this game on a whole other level. He guided the stone skillfully through passers-by, and they trailed behind him. Approaching the river, the kids stumbled and sent all their stones splashing into the water. But Sakamoto remained in a league of his own. Even when his stone accidentally fell into the river, he chased after it, catching it mid-air to keep kicking forward. It was so miraculous that the kids had no clue how he managed to walk on that slanted surface. The young leader wasn't ready to admit defeat, and his friends comforted him, saying that once they reached high school, they'd master it too. The next day, the trio tried walking along the white lines again. Suddenly, a breeze blew past, and there stood Sakamoto right before them. He walked casually, but stayed perfectly balanced on the white line. Inspired, the 3 kids decided to follow him. They trailed behind Sakamoto and encountered a man across the street. Sakamoto told the man to tie a thick rope, then effortlessly jumped over it. The kids mimicked him, while the man remained completely oblivious. The trio kept following Sakamoto, attracting curious glances from passers-by as they walked and admired the scenery. By late afternoon, Sakamoto stopped. There were no more white lines. To continue, they'd have to jump over the word "stop" painted on the ground. But Sakamoto handed the boy a roll of paper. The boy tossed it down, creating a new path for them to walk. Everyone felt like stars strutting down a red carpet. Finally, the 4 paused in front of a nearby supermarket. Sakamoto had come to try some food. While the kids saw their mothers and turned back, the leader sneaked back to ask Sakamoto for his autograph. Later, we meet a girl named Megumi. She's the class president and has a secret hobby taking candid photos of Sakamoto. But she can't confess her feelings because she feels ordinary, nothing special. Suddenly, she notices a ghost in a new photo she took. Lately, rumors of a vengeful ghost girl harming people have been swirling among the students. Determined, Megumi decides she must warn Sakamoto before it's too late. When she tries to speak up, fear stops her, worried she'll reveal her secret spying, so she turns away, but resolves to find a way to warn him. When trouble strikes, Sakamoto is pushed, and a broom hurtles his way, but he leaps up and rides it away. Megumi then asks if anything strange has happened lately. Sakamoto just notices Kubo's hair growing unusually fast. Hearing water sounds nearby, Sakamoto checks it out and finds a pile of hair, but no fear in sight. He grabs the hair and rushes off to find Kubo to attach it back. Megumi can't believe Sakamoto faces such bizarre things so calmly. She goes to find Kubo to share her discovery. Now Kubo understands the pages flipping in the book Sakamoto read were caused by a ghost, not some magical power. Kubo advises Megumi to confess. Sakamoto probably wouldn't hate her. Otherwise, she'd be stuck like that ghost forever. Megumi can't accept this until she catches Sakamoto playfully pushing a red hat around. She snaps a photo, watching Aina confidently bring things to Sakamoto. Megumi realizes she's been lurking like a ghost herself. She spots something in the photo, a ghost at Sakamoto's feet. She prints the pictures and brings them to him. She tells him the ghost expressed its feelings before he turned away, thinking Sakamoto hates her. Megumi resigns to working quietly beside him. But Sakamoto is actually printing his own face, thanking the ghost. The spirit finds peace and Kubo's hair returns to normal. Megumi begins to change, now capturing Sakamoto's moments openly. The next day, there's a new noodle dish in the cafeteria, but only Sakamoto buys it. Determined to help Megumi sell it, Sakamoto draws a wavy noodle shape on the board during class and quickly erases it, making people think it was a mistake. He repeats this while drawing white lines on the sports ground and watering plants. Thanks to this, the noodles start selling better. A few days later, 3 mischievous guys sneak into a video store attempting to bypass the security barrier to buy an adult film. But it's tough. Right then, Sakamoto arrives looking for Sparrow footage. The 3 guys leave first, then offer a deal. They'll give him the disc he wants if he fetches the adult film for them. Guiding him through the steps, Sakamoto strips off his uniform and approaches the barrier, needing to pass unseen. Finding no cracks, he cleverly creates a breeze to slip through in a flash, unnoticed. Outside, the 3 wait, and Sakamoto dashes out at the perfect moment. Next, he must avoid the gaze of 3 female classmates. The guys point him the way. He passes 2 girls, but spots Kubo's mother in the middle, so he detours only to be spotted by the 3rd girl. Quickly, he hides the adult films on a nearby shelf. Then when the girls look away, grabs the discs and hides near the counter. The final challenge acting like an adult. He draws something on his hand and walks past the counter. Luckily, the clerk is new, but suddenly the manager switches positions. Yes. Sakamoto faces a tough spot. The manager sees his ID and doubts he's 20, thinking he looks like a high schooler. Yet Sakamoto remains calm, pretending to check his watch. He draws something very grown up, and the manager is dazzled, mistaking it for a fancy watch, suspecting Sakamoto as some noble or celebrity, and gives up. Sakamoto then trades the discs with the guys. They invite him for a party at their place, but Sakamoto declines and heads home. The 3 realize just how mature he truly is. Deciding to ditch the adult films, they hit the gym to get fit instead. A few days later, Sakamoto's class has a ball-throwing contest against another class. He pulls off a flawless throw, making the girls cheer wildly. Just 3 days before, the sports festival was announced. Everyone hoped Sakamoto would carry the team, but in truth, he wanted the boys to stop leaning on him and prove their own skills before the girls. One man alone can't beat Sakamoto, but united, they just might. They cheat during the eating contest by tying Sakamoto's cake tighter. They rush to bite it at the start but end up stuck themselves. But then, he spun around and the teacher's eyes lit up with recognition. It was like watching a crocodile snapping and twisting its prey. A memory from his Amazon travels. Despite that, he still crossed the finish line first, and seeing others struggling, he paused to share half his bread with them. In the second round, Sakamoto had to build a tower. Everyone decided to shake it, hoping to topple him down. But Sakamoto climbed to the very top, and as the tower wobbled, everyone braced themselves for his fall. Yet, he stood firm atop the leaning tower like a living, leaning tower of Pisa. Thus, they all began to see him as a wonder of the world. But it was still too early to give up, so they geared up for the final relay race. Gigi, the girl here, would be the one to receive the baton from Sakamoto. Actually, X told her to stay calm because he had her back. The race kicked off. In the midst of running, Sakamoto stumbled surprisingly because X had tied his shoelaces tight. But then, like a leopard unleashed, he sprinted on all fours. He dashed to pass the baton to Gia D, but it was so slippery she dropped it and fell hard. Suddenly, all eyes turned to blame her. X thought it was game over, no chance for a comeback. But Sakamoto saw the storm brewing inside Gia D's heart. She cried, and moved by her pain. X decided to sacrifice himself to help her. As soon as he grabbed the baton, he lifted his shirt, revealing a chubby belly. Gia G apologized to her friends, but they felt she was still better off than Seha. Seija had withdrawn to a corner, quietly eating. Sakamoto told him he was truly a hero. Later, Giadi approached, and, though she wouldn't thank X outright, she admitted he was pretty impressive in that moment. Time passed, and the school festival arrived. Habusa's crew found materials to build a cotton candy machine. 3 goofy guys showed up, wanting to recruit Sakamoto. The chubby big boss declined, but Habusa insisted on inviting him. Suddenly, Fucus, the leader of the group, returned. He wanted to know who Sakamoto was, but Hayabusa hid the truth and paid the price. Meanwhile, Sakamoto's class was slacking off, refusing to make anything because the school banned food stalls. They could only do displays. Knowing no one would visit, they just gave up. Then, they spotted a balloon figure. When Sakamoto pulled back the curtain, the shadow behind looked just like Reti, the snowman. The class hatched a plan to use balloons and shadows behind the curtain. But as they woke C up, he noticed balloons on the ceiling forming an art piece crafted by Sakamoto, who moved each balloon with a broomstick. Megumi made a glowing balloon that resembled a UFO. Hayabusa's 2 juniors mocked it, so Sakamoto pulled some physics tricks to make it look more like the real thing. The 2 guys got mad and left. Megumi's friend saw their laziness, boycotted them, and met Fucus, who showed them how to have fun again. The next day, Megumi and her friend arrived to find their balloon art destroyed. Wanted posters for Sakamoto suddenly plastered the school walls. The entire school gathered to see the posters. Sakamoto recognized the danger and bolted fast. This was a trap set by Fucus to catch Sakamoto. But the girls in the class chose to believe in him. Hayabusa's 2 underlings returned to the classroom, their hearts heavy with guilt for their laziness, hoping to make amends by bringing a mountain of balloons for everyone to start fresh. Meanwhile, Sakamoto has slipped away into the gymnasium. The gym is hosting a play, shrouded in darkness, making it a perfect hiding spot. Yet, in a bold twist, Sakamoto chooses the one spot bathed in light to conceal himself. Fucus urges the gang to search for Sakamoto, surrounded and cornered, just when tension peaks. Hayabusa's crew bursts in, rescuing him from the siege. They arrange to meet him up north. Following their lead, Sakamoto learns that Fucus was once a student here, now 30 years old, returning each holiday to stir up chaos. Those targeted by Fucus never walk away unscathed. And all this trouble just for fun. Hayabusa advises Sakamoto to head back. Trouble might be brewing in his own class. Sakamoto returns, and everyone believes in his innocence, convinced he's been falsely accused. The 2 underlings wear faces of trust, but Sakamoto senses a flicker of doubt in everyone's eyes and quietly turns away. Soon after, a mysterious girl appears at the door, boldly claiming responsibility for popping the balloons. The girls rejoice, relieved that Sakamoto isn't the culprit. Hearing this, the 2 underlings scramble to deny her story, but in their panic, they unwittingly reveal themselves as the true balloon saboteurs. The twist. The mysterious girl was Sakamoto's own voice in disguise. Cornered with no escape, the 2 threaten to burst every balloon in the class. Sakamoto counters with a clever ruse, crafting a fake gun from balloons to intimidate them. They scoff at first, but when Sakamoto fires off some balloons, popping them with eerie precision, jaws drop, afraid the balloon gun might be real. The 2 begrudgingly surrender. It turns out the balloon bursts were caused by Kubo using a mirror to reflect sunlight's heat. After punishing the troublemakers, the class joyfully returns to decorating their room. Hayabusa and his gang are invited over to make cotton candy. A playful chase ensues between Sakamoto and the B gang, with Sakamoto and Fucus exchanging a meaningful glare as they pass by. One day, Megumi and 2 other girls reminisce about the first time they met Sakamoto and how they instantly liked him. Megumi's memory takes us back to the day of the entrance exam. It was freezing cold, and Megumi dropped her eraser, fingers numb from the chill, unable to catch it. Sakamoto, in a flash, picked it up and rubbed it against his desk repeatedly. But his intention wasn't just cleaning, it was to warm the eraser. so Megumi's hands wouldn't freeze. Touched deeply, Megumi treasures that eraser to this day. The bespectacled girl recalls meeting Sakamoto on a stormy or windy day. Her umbrella flipped inside out, and glancing over, she saw Sakamoto's umbrella doing the same. Yet, Sakamoto lifted his umbrella, letting the rain fall inside and savouring it like a noble lord. From that moment, she found herself drawn not only to him, but to the rain itself. The braided girl met Sakamoto at the library while carrying an overload of books, accidentally bumping into him. Sakamoto effortlessly caught all the books, leaving her utterly amazed. All the girls agree their first encounters with Sakamoto were moments steeped in romance. But then Kubo strolls by, recalling his own first meeting. He dropped a medical bandage on his finger, and Sakamoto picked it up, placing it back like a wedding ring. The girls, touched and a little wistful, realize Kubo's encounter might just be the most romantic of all. The next day in class, Kubo gazes at Sakamoto with longing so intense, he ignores the teacher calling his name over and over. Turns out, during a parent-teacher meeting, Kubo's mother discovered Sakamoto's true identity. Today, Kubo is bedridden with a severe illness, so Kubo's mother impersonates him at school, desperate for one more chance to see Sakamoto. During home economics class, her cooking skills stun everyone. Sakamoto takes a plate to taste her soup and hands it back, but A snatches it, igniting Kubo's mother's fury. The girls scramble, fighting over the plate just to get a chance to kiss Sakamoto. During gym class, the teacher is speechless watching Sakamoto run in a way that mimics human evolution. Meanwhile, Kubo's mother chases after Sakamoto, wild with hopes of touching him. The hilarious twist, no one notices the two bouncing spheres accompanying them. Running too fast, she faceplants spectacularly. Sakamoto helps her up, but she stands alone and sadly walks away. She realizes Sakamoto was reaching for Kubo, not herself. Sakamoto seems to catch on to the disguise, accepting her fate as a woman unlucky in love. She returns home to care for her family, finding joy in nurturing her son. Come Christmas, many host matchmaking parties between boys and girls.